There is another game in the Big Ten this week that matters, that Ohio State's not playing in, that matters for Ohio State. There haven't been a ton of huge games in this league this year. Nebraska-Michigan State was one. Ohio State-Michigan State was one. This is the third. Nebraska-Wisconsin. Nebraska's 8-1. Wisconsin is 7-2. Who do you guys think is favored in this game, by the way? It's at Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's favored.
Wisconsin's favored. I'm a little surprised by that, actually.
By how much?
It started as a 4-point line. It's now a 6-point line.
Oh, 6?
Wow.
That Wisconsin is favored. Wisconsin has the loss to Northwestern, the inexplicable loss to Northwestern, and the loss at LSU in the neutral site to start the year. Nebraska's only loss is to Michigan State. I think Adam brought up a good point that this is like a double whammy game for the Big Ten. Actually, that's a different game. The Florida State game matters this week as well for the Big Ten, but there are things in play here for Nebraska and Wisconsin. You know, again, we're not going to pretend that we watch these two teams every week. Do you think this will be a high-quality game? There's two really good running backs in this game with Amir Abdullah and Melvin Gordon. How big do you think this game is for the Big Ten?
I think it's a huge game for the Big Ten, but I have a feeling that it's not going to look like Ohio State, Michigan State, because you said it's two really good running backs with Amir Abdullah and Melvin Gordon, but two teams who aren't great at throwing the football. And I think when you talk about spectacles and big games and the way that game looks Saturday night in East Lansing, because the teams are throwing the ball. JT Barrett threw for 300 yards, Connor Cook threw for like 300 plus, I believe. That's not going to happen in this game. It's going to be kind of a slugfest. Now, it could be high scoring, I don't know, but I think it's kind of going to plod along a little bit, and you're going to have two running backs kind of going head-to-head, and may the best man win.
I want to ask you about this, too. When we look ahead to this, you have to expect the winner of this Nebraska-Wisconsin game is going to be the team that goes to the Big Ten title game from the West, and Ohio State's going to be there unless they lose twice. Both those teams, as we mentioned, great running attacks. We're going to see a good running attack from Minnesota this week. Is there anything about that you're curious about that Ohio State should be worried about when they get to that Big Ten title game against a really good running back and a good running team?
No, I'm not necessarily worried. They gave up some rushing yards against Michigan State, but I think that was a product of a couple things. Michigan State having a really good offensive line and Michigan State having a really good quarterback and being able to throw the football.
Okay. Florida State's the other game this week that I think that matters to Ohio State. They're playing Miami. Florida State's only favored by a point or two in that game. Miami is 6-3. Miami is not blowing people away. They lost to Nebraska by 10. People think this could be a tight game. You know, we've seen Florida State a little bit from afar. The one thing when I talked to Adam, I said, is the Big Ten fifth among the 5 power conferences in how they're viewed by the committee right now? And he said no. He thinks the Big Ten's 4th. And the ACC is 5th. It's just the ACC still has an undefeated team. How big do you think this Florida State game is for Ohio State? If Florida State loses and the ACC no longer has an undefeated team, what does that mean?
Well, I thought it was interesting that Adam said that a loss for Florida State in his mind would remove them from the playoff talk, which is funny because they would only be a one-loss team still.
Right.
They'd have Jameis Winston on their roster.
Right.
And, but it didn't really add up until he said it, but this is a huge, if you're an Ohio State fan, you got to get your U thing going this week. I think you got to pull out, you got to forget 2002, you got to, because not only would it knock Florida State behind Ohio State in the playoff poll, but then all of a sudden Nebraska has a really quality win. Mm-hmm. And, I think you need Nebraska first and foremost to win if you're an Ohio State fan. But this is almost as big of a game for other reasons because what's better, another quality win or a team that's standing in your way dropping behind you?
Yeah.
It's equally as big of a game.
Right.
So it'd be great for the double whammy if they were able to get Nebraska win and then Miami win. Ohio State would be, if that happened, they'd be in a really, really good spot.
Because it does seem like whatever you think of Ohio State right now, they have things in front of them they need to happen. They don't control their own destiny yet. One more game for Ohio State fans to watch this week, and this is not, I don't have to tell people this. Alabama, Mississippi State. It seems like Ohio State fans should be rooting for Mississippi State to win that game, give Bama a second loss, and then really clear the way for only one SEC team really being in contention. If Alabama wins that game, and Alabama's a touchdown favorite over the number 1 team in the country, if Alabama wins, still has 1 loss. Mississippi State now has 1 loss. I still think you create a scenario where you keep the opportunity alive for 2 SEC teams to be ahead of a Big Ten
And almost
champ.
flip maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think unless Alabama destroys Mississippi State and causes people to say, whoa, Mississippi State is not the team we thought. If it's just an Alabama win at Alabama, now Mississippi State's a one-loss team with a couple decent wins and a good loss.
Yeah, 24-20
That's still ahead of Ohio State.
Yeah.
So, Ohio State fans this week, they root for Nebraska over Wisconsin. They root for Miami over Florida State. They root for Mississippi State, Dan Mullen, Urban Meyer's friend, to beat Alabama. And then you wait for more chaos to happen. I think we still stand at the same spot, which is we know chaos can happen as college football. But I don't think you can just necessarily say, oh, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
You know, because I think you can still get a one-loss Pac-12 champ. You can still get a one-loss Big 12 champ. You can't assume Florida State's going to lose. And the SEC is the SEC. Ohio State still needs some help. But here we are. It's late in the season. We're talking about Ohio State in the playoff mix. And when we did this show earlier in the year, I don't know that we necessarily thought we would be in this spot. Did you think we would be?
No, I thought it was ridiculous.
I think we all went down the line at Virginia Tech and all said no. So
No. And I don't think we are sitting here saying we think the Big Ten is going to be in, but it's possible.
It's just good to be alive, I think.
It's good to be. It's
a great day.
It's good to be alive.
It's good to be alive.
Thanks for joining us this week. Thanks to our friend Adam Rittenberg. Read him at ESPN.com. For Ari Wasserman and Bill Landis, I'm Doug Lesmerises. Keep watching all week here on cleveland.com. We'll have the reaction tonight from the unveiling of the playoff poll and then coverage all week leading up to Ohio State at Minnesota at noon on Saturday. Thanks as always for following along with our Ohio State coverage.